week we have to start with the NBA because the NBA had such a. We all had a long week, but the NBA had a really interesting long week.
Has it been a week? That's how long it's been. I didn't even realize. It's
well,
been a
this happened Thursday, I believe. What we're going to really be talking about. So there was league-wide protests after the Jacob Blake shooting. We recorded on Monday. We were talking about there was some speculation of boycotting, but we just mostly read the reactions. And then, Thursday, the Milwaukee Bucks did not show up for their game. And they boycotted the game, and then the rest of the league joined in and started a league-wide boycott to start change. So, Tyler, what was your initial reaction to the boycott?
I thought it's exactly what, they have a platform, and they definitely, however they want to use it is however they should use it. I know that, for instance, like LeBron and I think another couple players were not super happy about it just because they felt like they didn't really get a voice in it. And I know it's kind of a mercurial thing, still going on because they did get back to playing again. But there was talk about, leaving the season altogether. And I think that's when it kind of broke down into what can we really do best to help this situation. A lot of players wanted to go home and help in their own communities, and that's admirable. And, I think they handled it the way they should. They brought attention to it, and then they're back to playing games. And then I know that when the offseason comes, and I think I think a lot of owners committed like $300 million or something to combat racial injustice or something. So I mean, it got its desired effect. So I'm all for it. I've been to many protests myself. It's our right as American citizens, and like it or not, even though they're entertainers for the most part, they're still voters and they're still American citizens like you and me. They might have a lot more than we do, but they have the same rights. So if they want to talk about something, some other people I could talk about, I think I'm okay with that.
And this is the perfect platform to do it on. Whereas that's where I know there was some people did want to go home, like you're saying, and there was some people saying, well, if you're just going to go home and sit on your ass, then there's no point in doing that. So
right. Yeah.
Might as well stay here.
Some people
stay here
to go home
and continue to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because this is probably the best platform 95% of the league will have. Most of these guys.
What other sports
you're not going to hear about?
on?
You're not going to hear about them.
Yeah, and I mean, granted, NBA, NHL, and MLB, NBA, MLB, and NHL are all going on right now, and NFL's in training camp, what have you. But you got to believe that NBA in the sports world is king right now because the playoffs are so much more interesting. I mean, NHL still is hurting from that, what was it, strike that they had 10 years ago or something, or I don't know.
It was a lot sooner than that, but I know what you're referring to.
NHL is great, but not a lot of people watch it. So right now, NBA is king. MLB is kind of an oddity, and when they get to the playoffs, maybe who knows. But yeah, the NBA, they have the platform right now to say, everybody in the world is going to be hearing what I'm saying and what I'm doing because of the platform that I have, and they used it for, I thought, a good purpose.
I think
a good cause.
That more so now more than ever, there's attention on the NBA because the fact that it's in a bubble, because we, yes, the NHL is in a bubble as well, but they eventually boycotted as well. I never thought in my mind that they were not going to finish this season, mostly because of everything that's happened with COVID. I feel like no matter now, would the players have forced the hand of the league and probably ended the season if they wanted to? Maybe, I don't. These guys are still competitors. These guys are still athletes, and they still want to compete, and they still love playing basketball.
They've worked really hard to get where they're at. Not just the league and the owners setting up the bubble, but also the time put in that the players themselves have done. You got to believe that there would have been enough voices going, "Hey, we've come this far. Let's not screw it up now."
And if people want to talk about, well, how much of a protest was it, or how much was a boycott of it that they went back to games on Saturday. They did enough. I think they did enough because no sports league should have to lead a campaign of social justice. No sports team should have to do this.
Right. They did what they were supposed to do. Their job was to get the guys who actually have power, i.e., the owners of each team, to do what the dirty work, the work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Because those are the guys with the power. Those are the guys with the money. They have all of those guys have lots to do with a lot of different political organizations, way more than any of these players do.
Yep.
So there's only so much they can do.
Yeah.
And they're using it to get the guys that can do and need to do stuff to do what they want them to do. And that's important. That's all they can do. They can't do anything else.
They have the money to bribe the politicians. So
well, they have the NBA players have a huge chunk of revenue. I don't know the exact number, but I saw a thing where they get like the players have a lot more power in this league because they get more pay in this than other, say, the NFL or any other sports league. So yes, this did eventually spread to the NHL, the MLB, and the NFL. The NFL, a lot of teams didn't practice. That's how they boycotted. So, but this is the thing.
It was
where
just 2 MLB games though at first. So I think it was Dodgers and Padres, or Dodgers and Giants, and Padres and D-backs.
There were still hockey games going on.
I know the Rockies boycotted one of their games. I can't remember what day. I want to say Thursday or Friday.
There's some on, because I think this happened Wednesday. Some teams did it Wednesday, and some did it Thursday.
Yeah, Dodgers
did
it.
Hockey.
Yeah.
Hockey did Thursday, and I think Thursday was when there was baseball on and off. And the New York Mets, I thought, did a good.
That was awesome. Wow.
They were in the middle of a They were in the middle of a hockey game when the protest happened. So the NHL did the same thing where they still played a game or two, and then the next day they postponed. But I don't. So what exactly happened with the Mets thing?
42 seconds of silence, and then somebody put a jersey with Blake on it, written on it, on the home
plate. They went out to the field and were getting ready to play, and then
they did all their warm-ups and everything. Yeah, they went through
batting
batting
when the game was about to start. And
they went through
left.
BP and everything.
Yeah, because I remember hearing about the Blake jersey, but I didn't know what all they did. And
that's powerful. I mean, you got to understand that that's not easy for those guys to do.
Yeah.
It's like I don't really want to compare it to it because it's kind of like hokey when it comes down to serious what we're talking about. But do you think if in real life those players actually gave their jerseys up for Rudy, which did not happen, but if it actually happened,
a Hollywood movie lied?
Don't you think those players were like, I don't really want to give up my jersey for Rudy, but it's the right thing to do? Mm-hmm. That's how we get change. I know that is really hokey, and also it didn't happen, but I think that's the same thing. Like the Mets, that was so powerful. If you watch the video of it, it's just like,
if you look at what
crazy,
I think just the image of the Bucks, where it's fear the deer, all this stuff that where it looks like it does, and it's just nothing's there.
Yeah.
And it's such a haunting image because it's like, and people saying like, oh, they didn't show up to work. No, you morons. They sacrificed money. There's TV money. There's revenue money that they're going to miss out on. So they said to you, I am going to sacrifice a game's worth of pay to stand up for this. And it's ridiculous. And we'll get to, Clay Travis later because he has a take like that.
Yeah.
But it's just to say that these people aren't going to work, like you have, and I'm sorry, I'm too political for my sports podcast, morons like Jared Kushner in the White House saying that NBA players, they, I appreciate the idea of them standing up for social justice, but they didn't show up to work.
That's cool because
you don't hardly work anyway. You got a job because your daddy-in-law, you moron.
I know
talk to me about
they had
that.
to bend like the fucking security clearances for that guy because he didn't pass like any of the protocols.
But that's my biggest problem with this protest is you have people that don't understand that, and they don't understand the importance of this movement. Like Paul said it on Twitter. Paul said that when's the last time you've seen a player strike that isn't related to player pay? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You've never seen something like this. And this is an iconic moment, not just in sports, but us as Americans, because this is really taking the mask off from people. Because either you want change or you don't. Because this is a beautiful American experiment that they just showed with this protest of saying we're not going to work. This is how we're going to protest. They're not burning down buildings or rioting like everybody wants to talk about in the news. They did something that was for the better of other people. And guess what? These are millionaires that care about poor people. That's such a crazy thing because we don't have that in our society.
Nope.
So instead of disparaging them because they didn't want to play some basketball, why not think that, oh man, these are human beings with thoughts and feelings? You have Doc Rivers saying that this country doesn't love black people. They said that they love, he said, I don't want to mess up this quote. He said
it's amazing that we still love this country so much when it clearly doesn't love us.
We keep loving this country and it doesn't keep loving us. It was something along those lines.
Yeah.
But that's why I get so upset about
Excuse
this.
me.
Because it is so asinine to think that, well, they kneeled, so they hate America. They didn't show up to work, so
They
they're
explained
lazy.
it. Are you 5?
No, those people, and by the
Sorry,
way,
he explained it. This is why I'm doing this. And then everybody for like 6 years now has been like, I don't care.
They don't care.
Ah. And it's like okay, well, I guess, man.
That's my biggest thing. Boil it down to anything else is the fact that these are multimillionaires that care enough to take
about their communities,
take away money out of their wallet.
That's more than a lot of owners can say. I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to hold this community hostage so I can get a new stadium.
Finally, I did want to, or a couple more things I want to say on this. The Bucks actually managed to speak with the DA. They even managed to speak with Jacob Blake Sr., which again, this sports league has done more for this movement than anybody in Washington has.
Oh boy.
And they're just supposed to shut up and dribble.
Yeah.
And it's just it feels like you're just completely ignoring
Isn't Washington on vacation until like September 6th or something like that?
Who?
People in Washington.
Yeah, something like that.
So I mean, I don't.
Yeah, talk about people that don't work. Giannis, I didn't know this, but Giannis has a social media blackout, so he didn't know about some of this stuff for a few days, which I think is weird because he's in the bubble. Wouldn't he not have teammates tell him about it before when they did officially boycott, which I thought was weird. But he said it was a good moment, and he said it was, quote, bigger than basketball. And he's not alone. The top players in this sport are saying this is more important to me than a paycheck. And I think that's really what needs to come away from this. And, it was only like 2 or 3 days. I'm like, again, they called people. They talked to Obama. They were talking to these guys are millionaires. They have connections. So they're going to be able to make these calls.
Listen, players' rights used to be like this. Kurt Flood sued the major leagues when he got traded, and he didn't want to get traded. This was back in like the 60s. I believe he got traded from the Cardinals to somewhere. I can't remember. But he sued the major leagues for making him take a trade because their contracts were like indentured servitude. When you think about like guys like that back in that time, I mean, the whole Black Sox scandal was because they didn't get paid enough by the owner. Yeah. I mean, when you think about all of that stuff and how now they can literally shut down the league by not playing, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
And this wasn't even, and like we said, it's not even over money, it's nuts. So, good job, NBA, leading the way for activism in sports.
Thumbs up.
And I mean, if you don't like it, fine. That is totally your choice. But I think you need to understand that these are human beings, and they're not just like, I don't want to say indentured servants, but that's kind of the analogy. Anyway, game.